Hi folks, and welcome back for another fly tying tutorial. I have a bit of fun each week on Facebook by posting some materials and then can you guess what it is yet? So last week I did this popper fry. I've had a few requests via private messages to do it on the channel. So I'm going to do my best with it, but it is quite an awkward fly to tie. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak 970 barbless hook. This one's at size 6, it's in black nickel and it's on a heavy wire gauge. Now, the more discerning viewers amongst you will notice that the hook has some lead on it. Now, it doesn't come like that, I wished it does, but it doesn't. So what I've done is I've wrapped some lead, and how I've done it, I'll put in the video just up there in the corner. It takes a little while for everything to dry off, so I just thought I'd save a little bit of time. Now, the thread I'm going to be using today is from Semperfli, and it's the classic waxed thread at 6/0, and as you can see it's black. First thing I want to do is just get some wax onto my thread. And I'm going to catch in just behind the eye and just get my thread onto the shank of the hook. Now, if you're going to do these, I suggest you do them in batches. So last night I sat and done 5 of these with the lead, coated them in super glue and left them to dry overnight. And then I'm able to come in this evening and do this demonstration for you. So all I've done is crisscrossed across the lead wire, and I'm going to cut away my rat's tail. Now, I have prepared some Booby cord, and it's basically, I've used the gunville cutters to cut a tube and I've cut it in the middle at a slant. Now, what you want to do with this fly is the popper needs to be parallel with the shank of the hook. You don't want it sticking up like that on this particular pattern. On some of the others I do quite like that, but on this one I want it as parallel with the hook as I can get it. It's going to protrude about 1 centimetre or so past the eye, and I'm going to catch that in. Now, regardless of what you do at this point, it is going to stick up. Don't worry about that, we're going to solve that later on. Now, I'm just catching in all the loose bits. It doesn't need to be particularly tidy at this point. And I'm going to come to the rear of the fly. I'm going to stop just on the bump on the 970, but it would be where a barb would be on a hook. And I'm just going to encourage my popper part to lie as flat as I can with my thumb. Okay, next then I'm going to tie in my Zonker strip, and what I'm looking for, you'll know with Zonker strips they flow a certain way. So I want the back end of this, and what I want to do is just remove a small amount of the hair from the back. So I'm just going to take that, rip it away with my hands. Now, you could throw that in the bin, but if you're as tight as I am, you'll put it to the side and it'll make a nice wing for a cormorant. So next, I'm going to tie that little strip in just at the end here. Yes, I am extremely tight, and let's not have any stereotypical jokes, but it has been said that if you stuck a lump of coal up my arse, it would be a diamond in less than a week. But there's nothing wrong with being frugal in my mind. So I've got that trapped into place. Now, I want to add a rib to this fly, and what I'm going to use is some micro metal from Semperfli, and as you can see it's a gold rib. I have got a little bit cut off that I've misplaced, but here it is. And what I'm going to do is just tidy that up, and then I'm going to catch it in on my side. It doesn't have to be the length of the body, I've just made it that way. and then I'm going to bring it all the way back to the start. Now, the body of this fly, you can use various things. I'm going to be using some sparkle dub, and I'm going to use the seal and the cream, and I've just mixed together a little bit of that dubbing. To be honest, it's very difficult to tell them apart, but you can use what you like. I'm just using this because I like the way it teases out. When I brush it out later on, you'll see that it teases out nice. So I'm just dubbing that on. Initially I just want to get my thread started, and I'm going to catch that in at the end like so, and then I don't want it too tightly dubbed on. Then I can start working my way up the shank. If you dub it on too tightly, what happens is it doesn't pull out particularly well with your dubbing brush. So I'm going to come up, still got plenty on there, and then I want to create a small taper in the body. I can do that by just adding or removing dubbing as I see fit. That's looking pretty good. Now, as I get to the end here, I think I'll get one more turn in there, and then I want to remove any excess dubbing I've got. So I'm just going to pull that off the thread. It comes away fairly easily. Pull it behind, and then get a few turns on. I'm just going to take my time removing that excess dubbing, like so. That can go back in the packet now. Yep, tight. I've mentioned that before, haven't I? Right, next then, what we want to do is bring over our mink strip, or zonker strip, rabbit, whatever you choose to use. Any number of materials will work with this, and you want to pull it fairly tight. So you want to cut just where it meets the popper, or the booby cord eye, should I say. So I'm just off, well, my finger's in the way, but I've just cut that, and what I'm going to do is bring that all the way to the front of the fly. I'll catch it in with a couple of turns, ensure it's locked into place, and next what I want to do is just part the zonker strip. Now, I was a little loath to do this one actually for the channel, because it's one of them flies that when you're tying, it's not particularly difficult, but it is fiddly, and you feel like you would benefit from growing another couple of fingers. As you can see, I'm using both my hands, and there's quite a lot going on. I'm separating the strip, and then I'm bringing my wrap over each time I find the gap. So it's quite a fiddly job, and a lot of it will be obscured by my big bratty fingers, so please excuse them. I'm sure there's some tyres that will make this look much easier than I am, but it gets the job done. So I'm cutting through, not cutting, I'm just working through the fibres, just to ensure the mink strip doesn't come away for the fly. And then on the last turn, I can bring it round to meet my thread and lock that into place. In with your scissors, remove your excess rib. Now, lick your thumb and forefinger of your left hand, and what you want to do is bring all your loose fibres back out the way. Just try and get as much of that out the way as you can, and then what I want to do is make sure that I get all this white bit covered here now. I want it all black, and again remember what I said at the start, I want the popper to be facing as much as possible level with the hook. Now I'm going to come to the front of the eye and I'm going to finish my thread off. Now for all intents and purposes, as far as fly tying goes, that's the fly tied. But obviously it looks nothing like the fly I showed you at the start. So what we've got to do now is start working on the resin part. Now, for the purposes of the video, I'm going to speed this up because it does take a while, but the more patient you are, the better finish you get. Continually wet your fly. Make sure you want to get it damped right down so none of these fibres stick in the way. Now, before I start with the resin, I'm going to add my eyes, and I'm using some of these 3D eyes. Unfortunately, I haven't got the packet, but they're approximately 3mm, I think. For this size of fly, it's perfect. What I'm going to do is just stick one on my side, and I'm going to stick one on your side. Now, if you can bear with me to the end of the video, hopefully I'll be able to explain how best to fish this, if I can get the eyes on. Now, when you're putting resin on, you need to use some thicker stuff. Now, my favourite, the old Solaris Bone Dry, is good for thin coats, but you really need some thick stuff here. And this is the section I'm going to speed up, so just bear with me. Okay, once you've cured your resin, just ensure it's dry, and then to finish the fly off, all I'm going to do is use some pro markers. And the first thing I want to do is get a red belly on this fly. I like it to be red at the bottom here. I mean, you don't have to use red, greens, browns work well, but I just like a little bit of red on the bottom of the fly. And then some black, just a little bit. And don't worry, it'll all come together. It's like one of them Blue Peter things. So a little bit of black, and then with my dubbing brush, I'm going to just pull that out. Tease it out, get underneath it, get some of that red stretched out. And I know it's looking like a hot mess at the minute, but it's going to come good, trust me. And then once it's done, start stroking your fibres to the rear of the fly. And there we have your popper fry. Great fly up in the big Midlands reservoirs. Throw it out. Generally fished on a floating line. I would fish it on a floating line with maybe a 15 to 18 foot leader. Some real big hard pulls initially to get it popping, and what you're looking for is a big bow wave behind your line, and when you see that, speed up and then just stop and the fish will come and smash it. It's really effective and you can catch some really big fish with it. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, please think about clicking that button, and I'll see you all next time.